Welcome to the FiveStack. We're talking about whose kid it would be worse to be, Ted Cruz's kid or Pete Hegseth's kid. All I know is that every time I see Ted Cruz's kids or Pete Hegseth's kids, they look at their parents like they're both completely fucking moronic.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like there's that one video. Welcome to the FiveStack, everybody. Come on in. Come in. There's that one video of Ted Cruz trying desperately to give his daughter a kiss on the campaign trail.
And she's not taking it.
And she's doing this one. Get away from me.
It's embarrassing if it was anyone's dad, but imagine it's like your daddy's Ted Cruz, of all people, trying to give you a kiss on the campaign trail. It's like, oh, gosh, I'm never going to live this down.
If my dad was Ted Cruz, I'd ask for emancipation immediately.
Yeah. Like, how do I get rid of him? Can I fire my dad?
Can I go out on my own? Do I need to have this guy as my dad? That is the most embarrassing. Outside of Trump, Ted Cruz has got to be the most embarrassing display of what it means to be a male American. Like it, you know what I mean?
Elon Musk's daughter. Remember Elon Musk's daughter? She's quite vocal about
Vivian.
Him. Yeah. So that's competition, but not the same. Ted Cruz is way above Elon Musk in terms of vileness.
Yeah. Well, because Elon Musk doesn't look like 4 pounds of shit shoved in a 10-pound bag either, right? Like he's a bigger dude, but he's not embarrassing to look at. Ted Cruz is embarrassing to listen to, embarrassing to look at, and embarrassing to have as a member of your society. Elon Musk, because he's one of the richest guys in the world, not that embarrassing, unless he's, of course, your dad. But not that embarrassing to America. Ted Cruz is like America's bastard dad, right? Like he just is one of those creepy, greasy, a bag of milk looking morons that, everything he says and he does is just so completely fucking disingenuous, and and he tries to put on this heartfelt look all the time. And he tries to, well, what I would say about he is the grossest American outside of Donald Trump, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's sold out in every single way. And you can tell with every move that he makes that he's just a sellout, that he's just there for the money.
Dude, remember when he ran against Trump? Mm-hmm. And it's, there are very few things I really appreciated about Trump. But when he destroyed Ted Cruz's life by making him pledge fealty after mocking how unattractive Ted Cruz's wife was.
Well, in fairness,
she's not an attractive woman.
I didn't say that. You said that.
I knew what you were going for. I don't get to finish your sentences. Hi, everybody. Hi, Kat.
Marco Rubio, yesterday, he was saying, Trump was saying he's going to be the greatest Secretary of State ever in the history. Marco Rubio. But a few years ago, Marco Rubio was like this little guy that Donald Trump wanted to get rid of.
Oh, yeah.
With, very, very efficiently of a couple of small hands.
You can hate Trump all you like. He has Rubio's balls in his pocket. He's got Ted Cruz's balls. He's got everybody's balls.
Everybody's balls.
I don't like the man whatsoever. Nope. But in a world where, turnabout is fair play, in a world where you just hate everybody in this party, they're just all a bunch of cretins. There are a couple things that Donald Trump has done to some people in that party that I still am kind of like, all right, good one. All right.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's lots to hate inside the GOP. So if you take some of them down, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
So welcome everybody to the FiveStack. It's good to have you here. It's so nice. Everyone's showed up. We missed a couple of days. There's various things like Canadian Thanksgiving, which happened yesterday, which is why there was no show, but
it was like 4 days of feasting over here.
I know, it's a lot of food, and a lot of sleeping after all that food. So we'll do the countdown, and we begin at number 5 with a story that you've got on deanblundell.substack.com. So NPR is reporting from last year suggests Trump world allegedly urged Netanyahu not to finalize Biden's near identical Gaza ceasefire framework in late 2024. So Trump could later take credit as peacemaker. The only difference is that 20,000 additional Palestinians have been killed. This is a big story that you're developing on Dean Blundell. But what is this? Why is he basically copying Biden's plan here and trying to initiate it?
You got it. Yeah. Well, this is what the GOP does, right? Everything bad that happens that they do, they blame on the previous administration. Everything good that happens that they do, they say it was their idea, and it traditionally has never been, unless it was involved in Project 2025. Joe Biden had a two-phase plan. One first phase was to get a ceasefire, get all the hostages back. Now, Joe actually got 140 hostages back, just so you know. Trump, I believe, 40, if I'm not mistaken. And prior to the election, and this is fascinating, and how it is not the biggest fucking story on the planet, and I want you to weigh in on it from a professional mainstream media perspective, how this isn't, 1 and 1A, peace deal, but why, right? And at what cost? The fact that nobody's talking about this is driving me crazy. But apparently, about 10, 11 months ago, if you remember, we were close to a ceasefire. Biden's leaning into Netanyahu. He's like, that's enough. You're hurting too many people. It's now considered genocide. You're making us look bad. You're making you look bad. And you're killing innocent people for no fucking good reason anymore. Well, they were real close to a deal. And you know this because you got that little shit-eating grin on your face when you're about to come in and say, yeah, I wrote about that like months ago.
I did, but yeah.
I know you did, but this is why I'm trying to explain to people, but I also want you to weigh in on it because you'll have way more detail than I will. That's just the nature of the beast. You're a pro. So about 10, 11 months ago, apparently Donald Trump got on the phone with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's like, much like the migrant crisis, don't sign that deal. Do not give Joe Biden a pre-election victory. It will be costly to me. You're going to get hurt. I'm going to get hurt. Allegedly, Netanyahu agreed. He agreed with Trump. He agreed, in fact, paid him a visit, if you remember, pre-election, goes down and meets in Mar-a-Lago. The war is raging. He's continuing to commit genocide. After genocide was committed against them, listen, take nothing away from that. October 7th was horrific. We've talked about it numerous times. And they decided, apparently, in their infinite wisdom, to prolong the war in Gaza, to prolong the bombardment of the city of Gaza, encampments, for two reasons. Number one was that so Trump would get credit. More importantly, Biden wouldn't. And number two, there is a real estate deal these cats have been cooking up called a Great Trust, where they turn the entire Riviera, Gaza, Palestine, the entire thing into this real estate play for Trump, Netanyahu, and all of their geopolitical friends and all their money bags and anybody who wants in, casinos, golf courses, hotels, you name it, shopping centers. There is a 30-page document that has been sitting on Netanyahu and Trump's desk for some time now. And now that that war is over, and by the way, 5 Palestinians were just killed today by IDF forces, and the war is still ongoing. By the way, Hamas has actually said, yeah, fuck, we're not giving up our shit. So not only is there no peace in the Middle East today, there is no accord that has been struck. There is no plan, even as far as what happens this afternoon, what the next steps are. It is about two things and two things only, this ceasefire. Trump getting a win, getting the credit, and number two, Trump and all of his friends letting Bibi Netanyahu and the government of Israel mow over that area so that they can begin the building of something called a Great Trust, which will come to some people as a surprise, which will include 15-minute cities. So there you have it. That is what happened today. Nobody is talking about it outside of us and a few other people on Substack. It's this bubbling rumor, and I get it. I am just overjoyed that the hostages are back, and I was overjoyed that I thought there would be peace, but apparently no peace in the Middle East as of today, and you can thank King of Credit taking Donald Trump for that yet again this afternoon.
That is a great description of the story, and also just smart because it identifies the key relationship here that we're talking about is how Trump needs Bibi and Bibi needs Trump. Mm-hmm. And that became apparent towards the last year of Biden's administration. It became very clear that he was becoming a lame duck presidency because Trump was wielding this power that he didn't really have. The power that he had, he got from Bibi and from Putin and from Xi. And they projected that power into the United States. And that's how he got elected. That's how, Biden got to look so weak at the end, even though he wasn't. He was such a phenomenal president. I mean, really, his record was exceptional. And this is one of those things where he did achieve great success. They got to that ceasefire moment, but it was just not achievable. And it's very similar to when Carter and the hostages in Iran, when Reagan interfered in that. Reagan basically delayed the release of the hostages so Jimmy Carter couldn't get the win. Why? So Ronald Reagan could get the win. And in fact, the hostages were released on election day. Sorry, on inauguration day, at noon, at exactly that time, because he wanted the win. And then Jimmy Carter, who was not being reelected, ended up having to go and pick up the hostages, which I think he was quite grateful to be able to do. But the scenario here is very similar. You've got a foreign government interfering in a domestic, although also a foreign issue, of course, but in domestic politics during an election in order to get the next president elected. Because had Biden had this win, he would have been, hey, I'm the peacemaker. I got peace in the Middle East and no one else did. And they didn't want to give it to him because, as you point out, there's a bonus check at the end of all of this when they all get the oil rights, by the way, not just the real estate rights, but the oil rights in Gaza and in the Golan Heights, which has been going on forever. So this is a very... this is who they are. This is the mob. And this is what the mob looks like when it takes over world governments. That, profit counts way more than people. And for them, that's all they care about. They couldn't give a damn about the Palestinian people at all. All they want is the glory and they want the money.
And legacy, right? They want some kind of legacy. And Netanyahu's trying to outrun the law. That's what Donald Trump's been doing for the past, I don't know how long. And to your point about Biden, Donald Trump, I don't know if you saw the tweet that he put out right after they reached this allegedly historic deal. Allegedly. He puts out a tweet. I'm gonna ask you all to compare when it comes to leadership. Keep in mind, this is the exact same day Trump gives a speech where he effectively calls Biden a loser, said he wanted this to continue. He said Israel, Biden hates Israel. Biden hates the Jews. So does Obama. Then Donald Trump puts this tweet out on the way back. Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. He had an issue with the size of the crown. Really weird. I never liked taking pictures from underneath angles because they got his neck-gina, by the way. That's what he was upset by.
Yeah, you should be. You would be upset too.
It wasn't a flattering shot. I agree.
It's just not his best feature.
No, his neck-gina is absolutely not his best feature. But this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? Let's juxtapose that to Joe Biden's tweet that he put out.
Yeah.
We want to talk about the character of a man. You want to talk about someone who's willing to meet the moment. You want to talk about somebody who's just not interested in the bullshit. Biden put up maybe one of the most gracious tweets I have ever seen in my life, and he had zero reason to do it. Let me read this to you. I am deeply grateful and relieved that this day has come. Juxtapose that with Trump's previous tweet. That was his tweet right after it happened. He's like, well, you guys got my neck-gina in the Time magazine picture.
Yeah.
The last living 20 hostages who've been through unimaginable hell are finally reunited with their families and loved ones. And for the civilians in Gaza who have experienced immeasurable loss and will finally get their chance to rebuild their lives, the road to this deal was not easy. My administration worked relentlessly to bring hostages home, get relief to Palestinian civilians, and to end the war. I commend President Trump. Suck on that today.
Yeah.
I commend President Trump and his team for the work to get a renewed ceasefire deal over the finish line. Now, with the backing of the United States and the world, the Middle East is on a path to peace. I hope endures in a future for Israelis and Palestinians alike with equal measures of peace, dignity, and safety. My God, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a president. That's a president.
That's a president. Yes, to your point. Yeah. Absolutely.
The thing is, and why Biden might not be so upset about this, is that every single president since Carter has had a peace deal in the Middle East, none of which have come to fruition. I mean, Carter, I think, had the exact same deal in 1972, basically.
Yeah.
73. He basically said, and Gaza was going to be figured out, and they did this whole delayed actual execution and
Camp David meetings with Yasser Arafat, the Abraham Accords, Trump and Kushner.
Clinton had it.
This is not a. I mean, guys, you give Trump all the bouquets you want because that's exactly what he wants you to believe. Mm-hmm. There is no ceasefire.
There's no peace deal. They didn't
Zero.
They have not reached a deal. They've reached a deal to return some hostages. They haven't even been able to fulfill that and to withdraw to a certain border for the Israelis. But that's it. They've really not come up with anything else. They've got a lot more to figure out. And that's not going to be easy to figure out because this has been a problem that's been intractable for a very long time. It's not going to suddenly be solvable because Israel doesn't really want to make peace with the Palestinians. And that's become clear over, when I say Israel, I'd say the Bibi wing of the Likud party, which is, currently in power. They're not interested in peace with the Palestinians. They like the status quo of letting pushing the ball down the hill and hoping that one day, maybe someday, Palestinian problem will just disappear. And that's what they'd rather do, pretend on the outside that they want peace.
They need a they-them too, right?
Yeah,
they do. And listen, Netanyahu has largely stayed in power on the back of the idea that he's the only person that can save Israel from Hamas. He's the only person that can save Israel from Muslim extremists. He's the only person that can deal with these people in the world. And what happens in wartime is that people retreat back to their positions. People retreat back into giving someone else agency, right? That's why George W. Bush won a second term. It wasn't because he's a great fucking president. He was an awful president. But war is war, and everybody's like, yeah, 9/11, and yeah, we're still going after those guys in Afghanistan, and they retreat back into their security bubble and they hand that agency over to someone completely different. And to your point, and I need to reiterate this for everybody listening, everybody watching. There is no peace deal in the Middle East because of that, because they need that them. They need the other. There is no ceasefire. This is a rich pageantry of bullshit. Yes, they got the hostages back, and that was all Israel wanted, right? That was all Trump agreed to do.
Yeah.
Outside of that, don't think for a second that they're done there. And don't think for a second that Donald Trump isn't co-signing the whole fucking thing. Everybody's lying to each other here. Everybody. And the reason why you need to pay attention to it as an American or as a citizen that likes to employ critical thought is because of what Lev said. Abraham Accords, the Camp David Accords, the Middle East peace plan with every single president has done this. And the reason why they do this is to convince a certain, subset of the population that they're fucking really good at this. I'm a great president. I'm a peacemaker. Like that, the Trump White House put that tweet out today. Blessed are those who bring peace, and then Trump is a peacemaker. And I put out a tweet next to it of ICE agents beating the shit out of people in Chicago. Everything is a rich pageantry of bullshit, and you can believe none of it is my point.
Look, the presidents have done great jobs over the past, and even Donald Trump, let's give him some credit for achieving whatever this was, this hostage deal. But the truth of it is, it's the Israelis that have been pushing back against the deal. And what we've seen in the last few years is a revelation of how much Bibi Netanyahu plays the American political and media scene, how aggressively they've invested in influencers. Everyone from Charlie Kirk on down has been paid for, some influencers getting paid $7,000 a pop for one mention or one pro-Israeli story. So, the amount of money and the lobbying groups that like the APEC groups and the other groups or the more pro-right-wing APEC type groups, those are all supporting politicians. Or I think it's like 75% of politicians in the Congress are backed by some sort of Israeli funding. All of that, conspires to not let any real deal actually happen. The framework is laid out by the president and the prime ministers and the leaders of the Palestinians. But then what lands up when it has to be implemented and decided on, Congress can come to a conclusion. And it's because Israel continues to play inside our politics. And it's very aggressive. And if it happened from any other country, we wouldn't really take it. But we take it from Israel for some reason.
Did you notice how? So if you paid attention to some of the semantics this weekend, Trump flies to Tel Aviv, does a little thing in front of everybody. He gets heckled by some members of parliament too, basically the Dems of Israel. And Netanyahu's all talk, and he's best friends, and you're the leader that Israel needs, all that other stuff. Did you notice where Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't this weekend?
Where was he not?
In Egypt. And he's like, I'm good. And here's the reason, is he is universally hated by every single person in that room, with the exception of Donald Trump. Like he, not the Israeli people, by proxy, I'm sure that's happened. He is universally hated by every single person that was in that fucking room. And he was like, I'm good. Let's just get this thing across the line. Let's get you your photo op. Let's just do whatever you gotta do.
He's doing it for Trump, and Trump is doing it for himself, and he's doing it for Bibi. But Bibi doesn't want to get involved in it because of the details. The details are he's going to screw them up. He doesn't want to get signed off.
Did you notice that? Did you notice that there are no details? Did you notice that? They go there for the big thing, and he's like, first time in 3,000 years. Yeah. Where's Norway? Hi, President Mark Carney. He's like, thanks for elevating me to president. They have a really nice time. Like it was merely a photo op, and because this isn't real, Netanyahu's not showing up to that. He's public enemy number one in Egypt. Anywhere they would have signed that outside of Israel, there would have been a bunch of people clamoring to kill the man. And he knows it. He knows it.
All these people returning to Gaza, I mean, they're not going to be fans of Israel. Their homes have been destroyed. And unless they get a really amazing settlement, which they're not likely to, but maybe they will, they're going to grow up to be even more anti-Israel than the previous incarnation of what was in Gaza. So this is not peace by any stretch of imagination. These people have been brutalized. They've been sent out of their homes, out of their country. They've been pushed into exile, and then now they're returning to basically dust along the Mediterranean. So this is not.
Returning to their homes today to inspect the damage.
Yeah. And listen, there's a really good quote clip here that I'm going to play from Donald Trump that sort of summarizes everything. And I know you know this one, but anyhow, here we go. Oh, is it not playing?
Right, because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help? Does this help?
I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly an Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven. But
sometimes he doesn't lie. Sometimes he tells the truth.
Because, I mean, like that was on the way back on Air Force One, and previous to that statement, he said he loved Caroline Levitt because she had great lips. So, I mean, the dementia's taken hold, but at the very least, sure, you got that little clip, which is basically Trump admitting that I'm in the Epstein files, so there's probably no chance I'm going to heaven. You'll all find that out soon enough, I think.
I think so. The number 4 story, here's another one from the Trump family. Trump's former social media manager, Jack Advent, is proposing that 19-year-old Barron Trump join TikTok's board as the platform's transitions to American ownership under a consortium that includes Oracle, Silver Lake Partners, and Dell founder Michael Dell. The suggestion comes as TikTok finalizes its new ownership structure following Trump's executive order allowing the app to continue operations in the United States. So Barron Trump is 19. He's quite wealthy now from a lot of cryptocurrency things. He's about to move back into the White House.
Yeah.
And he could have a seat on the board of TikTok. This is a giant conflict of interest, obviously, but it's the way of the world these days. This is the politics of America now, that the White House controls business.
Yeah, it's very socialist, isn't it? Sounds woke.
Sounds woke.
Barron sounds like a DEI hire to me.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he is. Listen, folks, more of the same self-dealing, putting family members and friends. I mean, he's such a fucking loser. He put Kimberly Guilfoyle in as the ambassador to fucking Greece. Like, there are no competent or qualified people in the White House, but I would make an exception for Barron Trump. Barron is what we call in the business an incel. He's got a lot of time on his hands, hiding from his dad, watching his mom hide from his dad never being home, him being, effectively the bastard son of Donald Trump, one of a couple. And so Barron Trump has been allowed to incubate himself. And he apparently does it on computers. Now, Barron Trump has also made, apparently, about $150 million in Bitcoin through his dad's various ventures. $150 million, 19-year-old. Not going back to university. He's like, forget it. And he's now also part of the executive group, those highfalutin guys that charge $500,000 to be part of a club just to meet and greet with Trump and get involved in certain business. So he's also part of that. When I read that he had been nominated to be on the board of TikTok, I thought, kind of makes sense. I mean, sure, it's self-dealing, and putting your 19-year-old incel son on the board of TikTok, which you just stole from China, and all of your friends have given you a bunch of money to do it. I think he probably might be the most qualified guy on the board, if you're asking me. He's 19 and he's an incel. He's a groiper. Who knows more about the news and how to work the internet than those cats?
I mean, he certainly is aware of how social media works, so you can't really argue against the age thing, but he is very weird. I mean, there's something about Barron there's no other way to describe him.
Never heard him speak. You ever noticed that?
He's ridiculously tall. I've heard him speak. He's just very odd. He looks like he comes from Transylvania or something. You know, it looks like he's got this sort of like other.
He's a weird kid.
Yeah, he's a weird kid. He's 6'7" or something as well. Like he's like giant.
Dude, if Donald Trump isn't his dad, that guy is living in sweatpants in his mom's basement.
Yeah.
Like literally watching 4chan videos and Pornhub and playing Fortnite.
Yeah, probably.
That's who that kid is. He's like a quieter version of Nick Fuentes.
And he's a fan of Nick Fuentes as well. So
huge fan. They're great friends. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
That's how it happens. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is the number 3 story, is conducting what some Republicans call a media blitz from hell, attacking House Speaker Mike Johnson's shutdown strategy, siding with Democrats on healthcare subsidies, and supporting efforts to release Jeffrey Epstein's files. Against Trump and Johnson's wishes, Greene argues that there's a pattern of weak Republican men in Congress who marginalize strong Republican women, pointing to the fact that only one Republican woman chairs a committee compared to the 3 in leadership, while Trump has included, has stocked his cabinet with women, including the 3rd female attorney general and the 1st chief of staff. Now, that's all interesting, but is Marjorie Taylor Greene actually transitioning from being someone who's completely on the outside of Republican politics to actually being the sanest person inside the GOP? Could she even be a future leader for the GOP?
Well, I sure as fuck hope not, because she's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But this is weird, isn't it? Like you find yourself rooting for Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're like, oh my God, she just made sense. I just retweeted a Marjorie Taylor Greene tweet and weird. Agreed with her. She's been shocking to me. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene has shocked me. Keep in mind, this is the woman who told everybody 5-6 years ago that the reason there are so many wildfires in California is the Jews had a space laser they were shooting at underbrush in Northern California. Was starting all these fires. The Jewish space laser lady, if you remember her. Over the past, I would say, month and a half, I haven't just watched her break with MAGA. I've watched her challenge her boss. And this, keep in mind, this was cult fealty she had to him. This is the same QAnon spouting moron, Jewish space laser lady, who literally showed pictures of Hunter Biden's penis in a House Oversight Committee hearing. Yeah, I mean she's nuts, but she has made more sense to me than and has pushed back harder than several leaders in the Democratic Party, where she has now come out against insurance premiums hikes, the loss of Medicaid and Medicare. She does not support the big, beautiful bill. She's now screaming at her own party, blaming them, every level of government, for the shutdown, absolving the Democrats, siding with Democrats. She's also come out full-throated in support for the release of the Epstein files and full-throated in support of the victims that are associated with the Epstein files. And she's getting louder and louder and louder. Now, this has really upset MAGA. It's really upset Donald Trump, because that is something that you never thought you would see happen. You might peel off some moderates, but Marjorie Taylor Greene was like the foam finger wearing, like, #1 fan of Crazyville.
She was going to be his VP at one point. They were testing her out as VP. Yes. And now she's potentially the next president. You know, if you think about a groundswell that's happening across the GOP, one of the things I've been noticing lately is how the sort of the mask has come off, even from people like Fuentes, but also from Candace Owens and the Charlie Kirk, some of the Charlie Kirk producers and company, that they really are beginning to say that as things as they are. They're no longer just backing their Israeli funders. They're no longer just backing the billionaires that have funded them. They're actually just
not blindly following talking points anymore. Yeah.
They're very sort of woken up. In fact, they've become woke, but in a different kind of woke. That is fascinating to me that that's happening. And if there's one person inside the GOP that has sort of got that group behind her, It's her. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's no other person inside the GOP. They don't really like the GOP itself.
No.
So there is a groundswell growing, and I think it could really challenge Donald Trump in the coming months.
So let me add this into the mix. Eric Swalwell last week, we talked about it a couple times, put out that tweet saying it's going to be over soon. Epstein files are coming. We got 218. We need Anita Gravala to be sworn in, and it's over. It's over. Trump's all over him. You're going to see pictures. You're going to see the whole thing. I have seen Marjorie Taylor Greene, since all of that started to morph, really back off and push back against strategic aspects of Donald Trump and MAGA. Seemingly, in my mind, everything that she's pushing back against separates her from the pedo protector crowd. So I think one thing is really motivating her right now, and that's to keep her job. And to keep her job, Marjorie Taylor Greene is stupid, but she's a survivor. She's a cockroach. She already is reading the tea leaves. And if you're reading her tea leaves as she's reading the tea leaves, I would venture a guess to say Marge knows. Marge probably knows. And say what you want about her evangelical cult affliction that she has. I think she means it when she says, I don't think we should have pedophiles in the government. And I think she's also a survivalist, and she's starting to move back and trying to separate, get a little bit of daylight between her and everybody that's going to stand next to this guy when those 218 hit and the discharge petition comes out. And hopefully we get those unredacted files, and hopefully we get victim testimony. I think Marge knows way more, and I think she's greasing the track for her eventual, I'm not with you guys anymore move.
And that's an incredible political move. If you've got a bunch of people in the GOP leadership that are not going to be seen as viable leaders anymore, she can rise to the top. And she can really, and she's in charge of that wing, whatever you would call that wing. It's the sort of anti-MAGA wing now. But it's remarkable that it's happening on that side of the political spectrum. And it's got to be worrying Donald Trump a lot, I would think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, listen, if you didn't think we had a fake ceasefire peace accord signing in Egypt because he's not concerned about Epstein, did you?
No, I mean, he's concerned about Epstein.
Folks,
it's a shutdown because he's concerned about Epstein, amongst other things.
He shut down the fucking government of the United States and fired 4,000 people and refused to pay the men and women in uniform who are currently patrolling streets for no reason for him, for the optics that he needs to what? To not talk about the fucking Epstein files. So if you don't think that she doesn't have that on her radar, you're nuts today.
And they are paying, by the way, the military soldiers because of...
Well, that's because Nutsack had to do that.
Yeah, but that's a good one. At least they're finally paying them.
Yeah.
Number 2, this is a story you brought us on deanblundell.substack.com. Major U.S. airports from New York to Oregon and Nevada are refusing to play DH Secretaries Kristi Noem's public service announcement at TSA security checkpoints that blames Democrats for the government shutdown and unpaid TSA workers. I think I have it here. So maybe I have it here. Why don't you tell me about this?
Do.
I think I do.
Yeah, it's fascinating. While you look for it, let me just give everybody the Coles notes. Kristi Noem, cosplay Kristi, puppy killer Kristi. She is the fucking worst. Like, I put her in the top 3 in this administration of morons. Regime of idiots. She puts out a video because, there's been delays, right? Government employees aren't getting paid, government shutdown, air traffic controllers, need government infrastructure. So airports are delayed around the United States. Kristi Noem and her infinite wisdom records a video. Do you have it?
I have it.
Okay.
I think.
Records this.
Sorry. That's you. No, I can stop her. Go ahead.
Records this video.
Yeah.
And mandates it that every federal airport around the United States has to play this, not once, on repeat.
That's a big audience.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, you got a captive audience. You got a bunch of people sitting around waiting 2-3 hours for a flight, sitting in, and a few airports did, and almost all of them were like, this is a violation of the Hatch Act. We can't do this. Roll the tape, Zev. This is awesome.
I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government. And because of this, Many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay.
Those Democrats have power.
Do all that we can to avoid delays that will impact your travel. And our hope is that Democrats will soon recognize the importance of opening the government.
How do they think they can get away with it? It's such a bold-faced lie.
On repeat. Every airport mandated it.
That would be the worst torture in the world, listening to Kristi Noem on repeat. I mean, that would be like a nightmare. I would just, the worst.
Especially if you're an animal lover or you worked at the SPCA. You'd be like, oh my God.
You've just got an annoying voice and or lying to you on repeat.
What she did in that video, which is like, it's easily Googleable while you're sitting there waiting for your flight to Cancun or wherever the fuck you're going.
Yeah.
Who caused the shutdown? Well, Republicans own every level of government, and the Democrats have tried now 8 times to get the government moving again, and Republicans keep voting no. So that. It's laughable. Like, it's everything that we see around this regime is a sim. It's this effort to make you think you're living in this alternative reality where nothing they do has any impact, negative impact for sure, on Americans. And as a matter of fact, everything they do has a positive impact on them. And if it doesn't, it's everybody else's fucking fault. They are in control of every fucking branch of the United States fucking government. They own the fucking Supreme Court. They're in charge. That video is fucking unbelievable to me. And good for Seattle, Vegas, Charlotte, SeaTac, New York, LA. They all said, no, we're not running that. Yeah. And I hope every other airport in the United States pulls that. But it was mandated, dude.
You know, this is them being a state propagandist. And I'm quite sure that she's realizing there's a large audience there. So to have her on repeat in front of all these people, increase her recognition. So why not do that? The good news in all this story is that there is pushback. Pushback is working wherever it's happening, whether it's happening in the airports or it's happening in the courts or in the military. Every time an institution is pushing back against this government, it reveals that they are just paper tigers, that there's nothing really there. And you can see it in her, brazen lie about the Democrats. It's so obvious that she's just full of nothing, full of hot air. And the pushbacks help identify that. So, as everyone talks about this weekend's protests, those pushbacks are so important, and showing up to those protests are going to be so important. I think there's going to be like 10 million people out there in the streets. Yeah. Maybe 5, but it could be as much as 10.
Yeah, there are. I think there's going to be more. I bet you there's 15, 20 million people. I bet you 10% of the United States stands up this weekend. That's the kind of the roaring number that I'm hearing. And, I look at the comedy in that, and I look at the comedy in things like these frogs in inflatable suits that are showing up to the front lines of these protests, dancing, dry humping the air, having dance parties. And it renews my faith in America, right? Like in a moment where, and you know who's doing this, why they're doing this, they're trying to create a reality that doesn't exist, whether it's at a nice facility in Portland or the streets of Chicago, or at a No Kings rally this weekend. By the way, I will be attending a No Kings rally here in Toronto this weekend. Zev, I'm dragging you out to it. Then we're going to go for a blintz and a pancake after. We're going to have a great time.
I was going to do a live broadcast, but maybe we'll do a live broadcast from there.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Yeah, we can both do it. Yeah, it'd be fun. And so, the idea that Kristi Noem is going to, commandeer, it was very Minority Report-like, right? Where, you walk into an airport, because I can see it in my mind. You walk into an airport, and there's this reassuring government voice blaming a political party for all the bad things that are going on in your life and all the delays, and our safety is your top priority. Now, listen, if you've ever been through a TSA check, I can tell you comfort and security are not their number one goals. On top of all the others.
Security is, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. That is, I've got 2 number 1 stories today. This is the first time we've had 2 number 1 stories, which is really cool. The first number 1 story is that Fox News joins ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN in refusing to sign the Pentagon's unprecedented new press policy by Tuesday's deadline, marking a rare unified front across the ideological spectrum against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's restrictions that prohibit journalists from accessing or soliciting information the Pentagon doesn't officially provide. So he introduced this thing that everyone would, has to be strictly in line with what they're presenting inside the Pentagon when
you
it comes
can't
to
report
journalists.
anything outside, but they give you approval to report.
It's been rejected by everyone except for one news organization, OAN, but everybody else, news organization, I use that term loosely there, but there are, all the others have lined up in unison to say no. Again, another sign of pushback.
So let me ask you a couple questions, because you're from that world. You're a former big time CBS television producer. You've done interviews at the White House, been part of the White House press pool. Question to you is this: knowing the environment as well as you do, and the players and the people, like there's one OAN signed on to that loyalty pledge. One. What does that mean to you? Is it, you talk about pushback, but you've got pushback from like Trump's state media, basically saying the same thing. Where do you put this in terms of like, are these outlets on the same side, or is this just blatant overreach? Because part of the loyalty oath, this Pentagon reporting loyalty oath, includes a piece of paper that you have to sign that says if you report anything that we don't like, that we don't approve, you're guilty of treason. You're guilty of sedition. You go to fucking jail. That was actually I know it's insanity. And you got Pete Hegseth today, by the way, posting. I don't know if you've seen his Twitter account. All these like the Atlantic, Wall Street Journal, New York Times are putting out statements going, "Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not signing on to that oath. We'll continue reporting in the best interest of the American people." And he's literally putting a waving bye emoji and just retweeting these comments from people today. But how is that's happening today.
He's talking to an empty news press room. I mean, he's going to have nobody sitting there waiting to ask him any questions except for OAN. I mean, maybe they'll try to replace all these media outlets.
But isn't that the goal for these guys?
Well, you still need the media coverage. I mean, this is an information war. This is ultimately, how you win this war is by good propaganda, by coming out there and telling your story, your spin. If Hegseth is facing a room that's empty, he's not going to get his message out. He's going to get no message out. It is unusual that Fox has actually signed on to this. I was really surprised that they agreed with the other news networks to oppose this. And it says to me something more about Pete Hegseth than it does about anything else. I think Pete Hegseth is so disrespected by everybody. Nobody likes him. They think he's a fool. They don't believe he should be running the Pentagon. And for even Donald Trump, I suspect, is had enough of Pete Hegseth.
Really? That's a good read. That's a very nuanced, kind of interesting read, because you just lump him into the category of whatever Donald Trump wants. He's just telling the guy to do this. But do you think that this was Pete Hegseth's idea?
The military ban? Look, I think it probably comes from his handlers, whoever they might be, whichever foreign entity might be running the Pentagon in reality. But I think it's been pushed on him because that's the way they do things in dictatorships. Dictatorships don't like to have open reporting about their militaries. They don't want those secrets out there. They don't want people leaking information. They don't want any of that to exist. So that's the way Xi runs his army. That's the way Putin runs his military press. And this is exactly what they want to do in the United States. So I think he's been given a list of things he's got to try and do. Amongst them was that loyalty pledge from the generals. And the other one is this, tell the press they can't do free reporting anymore. But, inside even Fox News, there are real journalists. There is a journalistic part of Fox News. It's hard to find, but it's on during the day. All these networks, these news networks.
Jessica Tarlov seems to be able to report the news with some efficiency. Yeah.
You get the news, if you really want to. You got to squint a little bit and avoid prime time. But yes, you can find the news on Fox News. So those journalists are there with their reputations at stake. They want to be able to be employed elsewhere afterwards. So if they don't stand up for the principles of journalism and objectivity and all these other things, they're not going to get jobs anywhere else. And that's why the pushback is coming.
Yeah, because I find it very interesting that only OAN signed on to this. Like the list on the right of people that told him to go fuck his hat is everybody. Like it's everybody from even Newsmax, which I'm like, fucking Newsmax.
It's crazy.
You guys will lie if there's 50 cents in it for you. I mean, it's so I found that very interesting, and I don't think you're wrong, and I appreciate that kind of workup, because it seems to me more like, poor Pete Hegseth. You know why, again, kids, you don't take a drunk Fox News weekend anchor and turn him into the Secretary of Defense.
So do it.
He's got all these great ideas, and every time he announces a great idea, he gets absolutely ridiculed for it. So I think the book is out on him. And when you have Fox News going, fuck you, Newsmax, fuck you, Donald Trump will take notice of that. He's gonna. Well, you didn't get these people to sign on to this thing. What are you, useless at your job? What are you? You can't do anything right. Get the fuck out. And he hasn't really been overly confident with Pete Hegseth recently. So we'll
he lets him go out there and hang himself all the time. He doesn't have to do this. Trump could issue the same order and people would probably listen to it a little bit more. But because he doesn't do it, he lets Hegseth do it. Mm-hmm. It just comes across as weak and as a second-class leader, which of course he's not even second-class. He's below par on every level. The other number one story today is the Supreme Court is hearing arguments today tomorrow, on a Louisiana case that could eliminate Section 2 of the Landmark Voting Rights Act. This is a massive, massive, massive story. The provision that has been crucial in ensuring Black and Latino voters have the power to elect candidates of their choice since 1982. So it's a reversal of a very old piece of legislation, well, at least our lifetimes. Louisiana Republicans drew congressional lines giving just one of 6 districts a Black majority, despite Black voters making up a third of the state's population, and now argue that any race-based redistricting violates the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. The Trump Justice Department sided with Louisiana, arguing Section 2 is deployed as a form of electoral race-based affirmative action, and states should be free to draw partisan districts without considering racial impact. So we shall see what happens here. This is one of those things where this is 50 years of the way the democracy has been functioning to give people who are marginalized representation. If you take representation away from Latinos and Black voters, you'll end up with apartheid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hello. Hello. They did it in Texas.
Yeah.
Right. They got magically gerrymandered their way to make sure that representation was not on the ballot in the 2026 midterms. Just so everybody knows. They're doing the same thing in Louisiana. Mike Johnson, MAGA Mike, that's his state. The push is on to literally lock up red states and to prevent people from marginalized communities and districts deciding who they want to be the president of the United States. Why are they doing this? Good question. They're racist, number one. Number two, this whole Medicaid thing, they're in trouble. They're going to lose. And all they're trying to do right now is shore up as much support as they can so that anybody that they're leaning on right now in terms of Medicaid, in terms of the great migrant roundup of 2025, in terms of these ICE disappearings and kidnappings, and they are only targeting those communities in certain cities, just so you know, is giving them a voice after you've just detained them, deported them, abused them. Giving them a voice in 2026 would be a unmitigated fucking disaster. So not only is it racist, it's strategically evil because they knew this would happen. This has been on the books. This is also in Project 2025. How do we redistrict to take voices and votes away from the people we are going to go after?
Now, one thing they're missing, of course, and we saw this in the history of apartheid in South Africa, is that these kinds of repressive moves to take away rights for people to vote and speak freely actually land up creating liberation movements inside those communities that can become quite bothersome to societies. This is what the GOP is building for America, is a disenfranchised group of people based on color, based on race, that is not going to just sit there and take it. There's no reason for them to just sit there and take it. They can organize politically and protest in a way that's very different from what we've seen in America in the last 50 years, which has been very, very peaceful in this regard. So it's a dumb move, obviously, but they're setting it up for that particular scenario to take shape. But you're totally right about 2026. This is going to be their way of subjugating every single Black and Latino voter out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And EG points out Zeb has a nice voice tone, by the way, in the chat.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Dulcet.
Hi, EG.
Yeah. No, you do it for me, too. Well said. And I think a good place to wrap up, too, the FiveStack, is to be able to say, all of the things that we discussed today all point towards 2026. This weekend, America will mobilize. This is going to be the biggest protest rally. They're calling it an what do they call it? What did Mike Johnson call it? A Hamas, a radical left, Hamas adjacent evil parade.
Wow. Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's full of anti-Semites, by the way. All the hits, right? These are Antifa. This is an anti-Trump. This is anti-American. They're going to have anti-America rallies. We need to stop this. So they're already trying to put the screws to people, and I fully expect ICE goons to be out in full force. And by the way, they all have brown shirts. Strangely enough, they're like, "Oh, what do you want to do with the shirts? Should we go with brown? I don't know. It's got some fucking bad ring to it, you know."
Yeah, whatever.
Like,
Let's
go with the brown shirts.
Yeah.
So this weekend, nokings.org, by the way, I would encourage everybody to go there, nokings.org, and check out where you can get involved in a rally this weekend, because America is awake. America knows. Americans know. Smart Americans, everybody here from America. I think just over 2/3 of the audience that I have, the subscribers here at deanblundell.substack.com, are American. And this isn't an echo chamber. It can be from time to time. But with the growth of this, you're starting to see different people come from all over the place that said, I don't get the information that I need. I don't get it out there. I don't get it here. We talked about 5 stories today, and all 5 of these stories are about what Trump is trying to do to distract you from the Epstein files, his incredible unpopularity, his disapproval rating, the police state he's going to war with Americans while pretending he's a peacemaker abroad. He's none of those things. All of these things are opportunity. And in terms of the disaster theater that you're witnessing, this opportunity for him is, how can I prevent people from voting? And if I know one thing about Americans that I've learned over the past 10 years, if I know one thing, they hold freedom to be the most important thing in their lives. And that includes the freedom to cast a fucking ballot for anybody that they want. And I also know this other thing about Americans: they all have guns. Every single one of them. Some of them have multiple, some of them have dozens, some have hundreds, and they all have ammo. So you want to test the mettle of the freedom aspects of every American? Tell them that they can't vote. Tell them that their vote doesn't matter, or take away their right to vote, because you're going to see fireworks. I hope we don't. But I've seen more than one person, and especially people with the pedigree to be able to say this, like Ruth Ben-Ghiat, who's incredible, Dr. Stephen Hassan, incredible, say this is civil war territory we're moving into now.
Yeah.
Right? This is what we're talking about. God forbid it happens, because no wars are good wars, right? You don't want to see that. But again, don't take your eyes off the ball here. You got a guy running around pretending to be a world-class peacemaker, literally waging war against his own people at home within the confines of the walls of these United States of America. So stay tuned, everybody.
This is a president who was elected on the Latino vote. That's how he got elected. Yeah. So it's hard to see why he's doing all of this. I should mention one more thing. There's about 5% of any population that's protesting is the number that people look at to figure out if there's really a chance for a revolution, or I wouldn't say overthrow, because we're not allowed to talk about that, but a protest movement to change the government. And I think this weekend we might actually crack that figure. I'll check with Olga Loudman if it is 5% later on tonight when we do our late night Trump tyranny tracker at 7 p.m. But I think it is 5% as a threshold. If you get that number, it means you've got a successful people's protest movement against an authoritarian government, and we could be getting it this weekend, so that's a big deal.
2 words, everybody, after this: general strike. Just 2 words. Just go on strike. Government shut down. Now's the time for a general strike. Let's talk about that next time we get on. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for the FiveStack today. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, everything Zev and I do is located on our Substacks. You can go to deanblundell.substack.com. Today, you can read some of the stuff that we talked about today. You can also look at and watch a great interview I got a chance to do today with Lev Parnas. Of course, he needs no introduction.
So good.
It was great, wasn't it? Yeah,
you were phenomenal. So good. You were so good today, and I hadn't watched that show for a while, but it is so good when you and Lev got on, and then the voice of Ukraine, what's
Alex
the guy's
Bolbier, yeah.
You actually you did a soliloquy at the end there that was really authentic and heartwarming and touching, and it really shows your inner passions around this topic, and it was really awesome. So everyone should check it out.
Yeah, It's a great week in review. We're off for Thanksgiving yesterday, so this was our weekend roundup, and it was incredible. They need some help. They're doing a bit of a fundraiser. If you could check it out and link into the fundraiser, that would be great. It's a GoFundMe to help people get clean and stay warm in Ukraine during the cold winter months as they're creeping into their third winter, being under siege. So please, if you could do that, that would mean a lot to me. We've still got 50% off at deanblundell.com. Sorry, deanblundell.substack.com. Annual subscriptions. Would love it if you could join us there. Paid is always so greatly appreciated, but so is just sharing this content, and so is just becoming a subscriber. The Daily Dean newsletter went out again today. You'll get that fresh in your inbox. And I would encourage everybody more so to go and join my friend Zev Shalev, who made an appearance. I don't know if you see that in the Daily Dean newsletter this morning. Your crypto heist story made a big appearance.
Oh,
it was
good.
absolutely fucking phenomenal. If you missed it, tell us what people can expect from that story and more over at narrative.org.
Well, the thing is about the crypto stories, in January, we started figuring out that, Donald Trump and Elon Musk were playing the crypto markets. They were basically pumping and dumping the crypto stocks based on events that they could control, like who they elected as their czar of crypto. And basically they made a lot of money. If you remember, the meme coins that Donald and Melania put out made them a fortune. And it's all based on them rigging the market based on news events. So we've seen that manipulation now over 5 times. This is the 5th time last week when they did the tariff announcement, or Trump did the tariff announcement, that we had a manipulation of the markets in order for them to profit off the manipulation. This is untenable that they've got 5 events now that can be pinned to the president himself for manipulating the market for his own enrichment, his own money, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's an incredible story if everybody needs context, because what happens is every time someone and this came from the Trump tariff on China, where he's like 100% on China, and all of a sudden, like half an hour before that, someone shorts the crypto Bitcoin market, makes $1 billion, and they are connected to the Trump regime, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there's no way, shape, or form. So please go and read that over at narrative.org. The Greatest Heist series is incredible. The Trump Tyranny Tracker with Olga Lautman is always must watch, 7 p.m. tonight, so you can join Zev there again on narrative.org. And thank you all so much for spending some time with us. So incredibly grateful for it. You can get more shit. You can't get more time. So when you give us your time, it means the world to all of us. So on behalf of Zev and myself, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and make sure you have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye, Dean. Bye, everyone.